Welcome back to another part of the fanfiction reading, or just the reading of the Huntress of Fairy Tale by Rico94. And this is Chapter 4, Sudden Attack. I guess I hope to get done with 2 to 3 parts of this today, or parts of the story today. We'll see what happens. I don't know. Woo! Alright, Chapter 4, Sudden Attack. Ruby jumped out of the smoke, looking back to see if Emmy was still there. What are you looking at? Emmy's voice rang in Ruby's ear as she looked behind her. Only Emmy to kick her in the face. Why? Sorry, but just why? It's just grammar. Just put your stories in Google Docs first. Then direct copy and paste. Sorry. We're already a minute and a half through this, and we've gotten through basically nothing. Anyways, Emmy used her sound magic, making Ruby crash into the ground. The dust started to clear and showed Ruby slowly getting to her feet. What's the matter? Emmy taunted. Is that the best you can do? Shut up, Ruby shouted, using her speed to charge towards Emmy. I'm just getting started. She swung her scythe down, but Emmy wasn't there. You're too slow, Emmy shouted as she struck Ruby in the back with her magic-filled palm and sent her through a tree. I'm through playing games with you, little red. It's about time to get serious, Emmy said. Emmy used her sound magic and created another explosion. The smoke started to clear with Ruby back to her feet. You're very persistent. I'll give you that much, at least. Ruby looked up and glared at the wizard. Now then, shall we get started? Kotori asked, looking at her brother. Perspective change, please. Notify them of that. I need to know that that's what's happening. It makes more sense when you do that. Anyways, we are now with Weiss and Blake. Now then, shall we get started? Kotori asked, looking at her brother. Weiss and Blake quickly got in a defensive position, reaching for their weapons. Yes, let's get rid of them quickly, Kono asked, looking back at her sister. It's a guy. Anyways, you can handle the girl with the white hair, and I'll deal with her black-haired friend. Then a sword appeared in Kono's hand as he charged towards Blake. Blake quickly drew her weapon, Gamble Shroud, and crossed blades with Kono's sword. Blake, Weiss shouted, looking at the cat faunus. Weiss, I could take care of this guy, Blake said, pushing Kono back. Do you think you can handle his friend? I can. Don't worry about me, Weiss said. This is really a terrible idea. Yeah, let's just talk in the middle of the fight. Let's just have a nice conversation. This is like cutscenes in video games. It's let's just teach you how to do everything every second. But, in this case, it's let's just pause the fight to have you two have a conversation for no reason. Jesus. You'd both be dead by now. Whatever. I can. Don't worry about me, Weiss said. Just be careful, Blake warned. If they're anything like that Emmy person, we could be in trouble. I'm aware of that, Weiss said, drawing a rapier. That means we're going to give this everything that we've and then some. You can't just is that even a contraction? Can you even do that? I don't think you can do that. Blake smiled and nodded. Then let's go. Blake looked Kono and said, let's take this fight somewhere else. Lead the way, Kono said. Blake nodded and ran deeper into the forest with Kono following her. Dumb idiot. Weiss looked Blake. That's twice in a row where you missed at. Leading her opponent out of the area. Good luck, Blake, she thought as she looked back at... What? Back at Katori. Meanwhile, in Magnolia... Why did you... Now? I mean, the whole thing is Magnolia. I mean, aren't they all in... Whatever. Shouldn't be getting me so angry. We're probably not through enough of this. Okay. The battle between Yang and Suzuki was already underway. The two had been exchanged blows and blocking each other's punches and kicks. Wow, that's very descriptive. Yang skated back a few feet, breathing heavily as she glared at Suzuki. I'll never going to get anywhere at this rate. Why? Yang thought. Suzuki chuckled and said, "You're a lot better than I first thought. But I think that's enough warming up, don't you agree?" A blue circle appeared on each of Suzuki's hands and moved up to her wrist, taking the form of gloves. Yang widened her eyes. Look at the gloves on Suzuki's hands. They look identical to her Ember Celica, except they had the insignia of the Nightwing Guild on them. So you made a copy, my... What is with this story and missing words? Like, it's not just like, oh, you spelled the word wrong, or you used the wrong word, or, you're using terrible grammar. No, you're physically missing words. It's not like hard words. I mean, okay, if it was like a long word, it'd be even worse, but still, it's like, why are you missing so many words? Bad grammar, can essentially, terrible grammar can really just be like, oh, you're missing a word. It still sort of makes sense, but it just sounds weird. But, this is just, so you made a copy, my Ember Celica. It doesn't make sense anymore! Words! Like of, and or, and and at. Jesus. Yang said, charging towards Suzuki. It's nothing compared to the original. She threw a punch at Suzuki with her weapon, and Suzuki easily dodged it. You're right, Suzuki said, throwing a punch at Yang, but it was blocked. It's nothing like the original, but... A smirk appeared in her face. Yang felt something pushing her body, sending her crashing into a wall of a nearby building. It's much more powerful. Using my magic energy like an amplifier. Each strike has more force in them. You can't beat me. Is that right? Yang said, getting back to her feet. Blood streamed down her face from the cut over her eye. Let's put it to the test then. Let's see if that fake me out is better than the real deal. That's not really what that is, but whatever. Suzuki smirked at Yang and took a stance. Trust me, it's not just your weapon that I've copied. Suzuki's body started to glow a bright light, forcing Yang to cover her eyes. When the light died down, Yang looked at her opponent and widened her eyes at what she saw. And perspective change. Blake looked behind her and saw Kono still following her. She stopped running and turned to face him. We'll fight here, she said, drawing her gamel shroud. That's fine by me, Kono said as the sword materialized in his hand. Tell me, how confident are you to think that girl is able to defeat my sister? From what I can see, she doesn't stand a chance against Katori. And the girl with the red hood is in the same boat against Emmy and her sound magic. I know Weiss will defeat that sister of yours, Blake said, and the same goes for Ruby. If any two people I know that can find a way to win, it's those two people. Or it's those two. A chuckle escaped from Kono's lips. What's so funny? You're that confident they'll survive, let alone win, even though you don't know what you're up against, Kono said with a smirk. You had a small taste of what Emmy can do, but you don't have the slightest clue of what Kotori is capable of. Why is that? Have you ever heard of Slayer magic? Oh, God. Kono questioned. Slayer magic? Blake repeated, looking at the wizard with a confused expression on her face. By that look on your face, I'll take that as a no. Well, you and that friend of yours will soon learn how deadly this magic can really be. Wind? Oh. Wind started to blow around both Blake and Kono as their duel was about to begin. What kind of slayer are they, though? That might help. Are you sure about this, Urza? Let's get that perspective change. Are you sure about this, Urza? Gray asked as he and Urza ran through the streets of Magnolia trying to find Team RWBY. Urza looked down, thinking back to the theory she came up with back at the guild hall. I can't tell for sure, but if I'm correct, then RWBY and her friends could be targeted by that guild. However, if we capture one of the members of that guild, then we'll be one step closer to getting Team RWBY back to their home. Gray, find Natsu and Lucy and tell them to head back here. Gray nodded as the two wizards split up. Gray went to find the Celestial Wizard and the hot-headed Dragon Slayer as Urza looks for the Huntresses. He's charged towards Kotori, trying to strike her with Mirrornaster, but Kotori didn't attempt to move or dodge it. Ice Dragon Scales. Kotori's body started to be covered in scales made of ice. As Mirrornaster got closer to Kotori, the wizard grabbed the weapon with her scale-covered hand. This is a nice rapier you have, Kotori said with a smirk on her face. It's too bad that it only looks sharp. The ice scales you see on my body are thicker than normal ice and they're harder than steel. Not even fire magic can melt this ice. Also, the ice slowly started to appear in Mirrornaster, causing to widen her eyes. What? Like, causing Weiss to widen her eyes? Like, you didn't even put, like, a pronoun in there. Anyone and anything that will come into contact with me will be completely covered in ice. Weiss narrowed her eyes as she quickly used one of her glyphs and accelerated away from Kotori, getting her weapon out of the Dragon Slayer's grasp. Kotori looked down at the glyph as it disappeared. Missing the letter A again. That's a unique ability you have there. But how long will that save you? What? No way, Weiss thought, looking at her Mirrornaster and the ice still on the weapon. She looked back at the Dragon Slayer and saw a smirk on her face. There's no way that one person could be that strong. No matter what I do, my attacks won't hurt her. I can't even get close to her. We may be in over our heads here. Another explosion. Oh my god. Perspective change. Another explosion erupted as RWBY jumped back from the smoke, breathing heavily as Emmy calmly walked towards her with a smirk on her face. Now then, shall we raise the curtain on Act 2? She asked as the battle between RWBY and her begins, or, continues, because that's what it would do. Anyways. More things. Oh, good, this ad again. This is wonderful. This is great. Pretty good. It's very entertaining. Love watching somebody else do this. And the real question is, why is there even a 3 there if you didn't have to use it? Anyways, Chapter 5, Yang Rises. Okay. Lucy and Natsu walk towards the train, waiting for the next train to the town where their client lives, much to the dismay of the pink-haired Dragon Slayer. Do we have to take a train? Natsu whined. It would be a lot better if we just walked to the guy. In your dreams, Lucy shouted. It'll take us 3 days to get there if we travel by foot. We're taking the train, whether you like it or not. That's not the correct word to put there. I thought I would find you two here, a familiar voice said, getting the two wizards' attention. Lucy and Natsu looked behind their shoulders and saw Gray standing behind them. Hey, Gray, what's up? Urza wants you two to head back to the guild now, Gray said. It's RWBY and her team. They're in danger. Lucy and Natsu. What? Doesn't even make sense, alright? Then why are we standing around here for? Natsu shouted as he ran towards the exit. We have to help them. Perspective change. Thanks for notifying me again. I mean, it's not like it isn't obvious, but still, if you are just reading it, directly in succession, you'll be like, well, why are we talking about Blake now? What the heck is going on here? And then it's like, oh, you changed your perspective. Thanks for telling me. This is why people put, POV in their story. Like, I mean, in actual stories, like if you were to look at if you were to look at stories that have multiple perspectives in them, like perspectives of like multiple different characters, then like it wouldn't do this, say like, oh, now it's this character's point of view. It would just be like, okay, there's a it would be like the end of a chapter, and then that other character would, yeah, it would just be like, okay, it's fine having this kind of split, but still it's like, if you're going to put a perspective shift in the middle of a chapter, then you need to put the specific point of view that it is. It's so annoying. Anyways, Blake and Kono continue to cross swords, with neither giving the other an advantage for too long. What? Soon Kono started to push Faunus back, swinging his sword, forcing it at her. Kono swung his blade down towards her, but it was blocked. Blake pushed Kono back and quickly regained her balance. That's some impressive sword skills you have, young lady, Kono said. Impressed? Tell me, what's your name? My name is Blake Belladonna, Blake said, introducing herself. I see. Well, Miss Belladonna, our battle wouldn't last too long if I continue to battle you at this level. Kono pushed up one of his sleeves and revealed 4 metal bands as his arms. So I'll fight you at the level of an S-class wizard. Blake narrowed her eyes. Kono, at Kono, as he charged towards her again. Yang and Suzuki, alright, way to change your perspective there. Yang and Suzuki charged towards each other, yelling a fierce cry. They threw a punch at each other, hitting each other in the face. The force of their punches sent both of them crashing through the walls behind them. That hurt, Yang said, wiping her lip. She looked over at Suzuki and saw that she was getting back to her feet. She's tough. This fight will take forever at this rate. What's wrong? Suzuki taunted, having trouble fighting someone using your very own strength. My own strength? Sorry, but I don't think my hits were ever that soft. If you wanted to copy me, you have to put a little more yang into it. Nice one. Fine then, I guess you won't mind if I use one of your attacks, Suzuki said, and then she proceeds to not use then she proceeds to not use one of her attacks, so whatever. Ember Celica, Tempest Fang, which is literally not even close to something that Yang can do, because, you don't have to shout out attacks. It's just, like, directions in your team, but, I mean, that's not really the same thing. Anyways. Ah! Sorry. Apparently I'm tired. Yang widens her eyes as she felt the force of 10 of her own punches hitting her at once. Yang coughed up a little blood as she stumbled back from Suzuki. Now, is that better, or do you need another demonstration? Yang glared at Suzuki, wiping the blood from her lip. Not only did the wizard copy her appearance, but she copied the attacks that Yang hadn't used since she was enrolled into Beacon. But that's not... whatever. Like, Tempest Fang is literally nothing that anyone who has ever watched any bit of RWBY has ever heard of. So I don't know what you are talking about, but you are, like, setting up a canon that doesn't exist. Anyways. Or you are not setting up a canon that doesn't exist. There you go. That's what it is. Yang charged towards Suzuki, throwing a punch at her, but it was easily caught by the wizard. Yang widens her eyes in shock. What? Suzuki said with a smirk. Is that all you got? Suzuki punched Yang in her stomach and fired a blast from her version of Ember Celica, knocking the blonde brawler to the ground. What's going on? Yang thought as she coughed up more blood. Are her punches really getting stronger? Or maybe... Yang punched the ground, seeing if she could make a hole in it. But as she feared, she couldn't. So you figured it out, Suzuki. My magic copies the appearance and power of my opponents, making me as strong as they were at the moment our fight begins. And I've added a little twist. Whenever I hit with one of your own attacks, the amount of energy I put into the attack is drained from your body. Do you get it now? You can't beat me. You no longer have the power to do so. It's over. Tempest Fang! Suzuki threw another punch at Yang on the Marcelica again as the scene turned black. What? I don't get... okay. Alright. Blake and Kono continue to cross blades, and the two were still at a stalemate. We haven't been to RWBY in a while. Just telling you. When their blades collided again, Blake widened her eyes, noticing that the force Kono put into a swing was weaker than it was earlier. Blake started to push the wizard back, forcing Kono to go on the defensive. Kono quickly jumped back as Blake swung Gamble Shroud down at him. Kono question. Earlier, I thought you told me that you battle with all of an S-class wizard. But judging by the last attack, you're nowhere near S-class. So what's really going on? What? Kono smirked at Blake's comment. Exacta. Exacta? You got it, he said. I got what? As you just said, my current power level isn't close to that of a wizard who has reached the rank of S-class. It pleases me that you guessed correctly, so you pass. What? Blake said, narrowing her eyes. This was a test, Kono explained. I wanted to see whether or not if you can gauge my power level. Otherwise, what would be the point of gauging you in a potent S-class level? It would be a waste if you can't tell the difference. Kono pointed his blade at the lowest metal band on his arm and cut the band off. He charged towards Blake and swung his sword at her. Blake blocked the attack as Kono went past her. Blake widened her eyes, noting the difference between this attack and the last. It's stronger, the cat faunus thought. Kono smirked as he cut off another metal band on his arm. He turned around and rushed towards Blake. They crossed blades, and Blake started to get a little pushed back, feeling Kono's power still continuing to increase. Stop playing, Blake shouted, pushing Kono back. I'm sure that you're starting to feel it, don't you? Kono questioned. We're almost there. Get ready. Kono cut off his third metal band, because now I widens her eyes as Kono charged at her again, and an explosion erupted. Okay. Yang fell to the ground again after feeling another one of her own attacks coming from Suzuki. Suzuki looked at the brawler with a smirk on her face. What was that you said earlier? She taunted. I think it was, a carbon copy is nothing compared to the original. And you're right. The original pales in comparison to this version. That's literally not what that sentence means. I mean, when you say a carbon copy is nothing compared to the original, it means that the copy is nothing and the original is so much better, but, whatever. Okay. Goodbye. Suzuki balled her fist and lowered it towards Yang's face. But before it could hit the Huntress, Yang managed to catch it. What? Then Yang used her free hand and punched Suzuki in the chin. Which is actually the best spot to punch somebody, really. It's something. As Yang stood back up, and her blonde hair started to glow. What the hell? Suzuki thought, looking at the brawler. How is she standing up after taking a beating like that? There. That was the type of wake-up I need, Yang said, opening her eyes and revealed they've turned red. Come on, where's the next one? Why, you don't get too cocky, Suzuki shouted in a rage. She threw another punch towards Yang, but Yang caught it. Now I got you, Ember Celica. What? Yang punched Suzuki in the stomach. Infinity Fang. That's literally not something that they've ever said. So why are you making it so it doesn't now? I mean, I understand. Oh, you're in the fairy tale world, but it's still the same weapons. It's still the same thing. I mean, I understand. It's like, I don't know. It's really stupid. The interesting thing to see is, like, can they use magic now? I mean, I guess they can. The force from Yang's punch sent Suzuki crashing through the wall behind her. Suzuki at the Huntress standing over her. Oh boy. Okay, well, it looks like we kind of run out of time, so, I mean, well... Oh, shut up. So that'll be it for now. Next time we will do chapter 6 and probably chapter 7. Just, yeah, alright. That'll be it. We're done.